He was a meat cutter, ran a meat place in Stowe. And he got interested in Clara. And so he gave up his meat business and they bought a farm up there at the Great George Hill, out of Louisa. And the Kaisers lived there for years and years.
What is Graves?
No, well, he owns it.
Rutledge?
No, it's up beyond that. It's why George Hill
George Hill's farm.
stayed there, but he, Graves owned that. He just rents that.
Now, who was that?
Right.
It was the Millers and...
The Miller she lived down on the place here in the village.
Where the Drowns lived.
Yeah, by the ground.
And she
Her name was
became
Miller.
Mrs. Kaiser.
And then Mr. Kaiser married Clara, and they went up on by a hill and lived there for years and years. And then Clara passed away. Well, that left her sister, Mrs. Miller, down at the village, and without no woman up there. So he went and married Mrs. Miller, and then Flora Miller, and that's how her name is Bertha Kaiser.
Just like her sister was
Just
Kaiser.
like her sisters. That's how that was. And
And
then Donald,
Ben in Stowe.
yes,
Because he was the meat cutter in Stowe.
he was meat cutter in Stowe, they were married, and he came here. And he was a good farmer, very good farmer. And so they, then eventually he came down and they sold that place up at Linville Ground.
Which
And
place?
they went up by George Hill.
Okay.
The Kaisers sold that to Linville Ground, and they stayed there for years and years. Because Harry was below them, Linville Brown married their daughter, Celia. And of course there was Jenny and Delia who just passed away. That was the...
Delia was a Brown or?
No, she was Umstead. Umstead. See, Delia was, before she married Robbins. She married Everett Robbins. She was an Umstead, and then Jenny, who still with him, lives in Stowe. She was a school teacher too. And so Kaiser came down and he lived in the village and ran the farm there. And he passed away, and Donald bought the place from Mrs. Kaiser.
Right.
From Mrs. Kaiser. He bought it in 2 months, so it worked out well for Donald. They lived in where the Sullivan, just below by the church was. All the men lived in there. See, when they came home from being married down there, they came up and they bought a little place just as you go in the windmill, a little place in the corner there. And he had put an addition on there, and when they came up, of course, some of these nice things that he was saying.
Was that Dr. Kinney's or?
No, it was, he got it mixed up there a little. There was a bachelor that lived in there. I forget his name, and Donald Wadsworth. And the Kinneys, as you went in that windmill, the Kinneys, there were 2 large camps painted yellow. And I know because my cousins were some Burskis, anyway. There's Alan and Jesse. And the Kinneys lived in one of them yellow places too. Donald's was a little smaller place, just as you go in there. It's set right on your left. And Donald put on an addition. When they came, they went up and started a fire. And as I remember, I don't know, but I kind of think it was a old Franklin stove like what I have there. And of course, the doors evidently weren't as good. Them doors are good, but when we went out to down to see my son, I knew my David had probably put in a different stove. I went and wired them to make sure. I never had no trouble, but I knew he put in quite a little, and we have to watch it. We just keep that because you see, we have a good place there, but that isn't really.
Yeah.
You can't do anything different. I had him come in for the inspection for So we just had to keep this pup away. That was old, that's 1884 or 86. Well, now, we'll get back to here.
So what were the name of the women that went to Stowe and worked? That was Clara and...
Well, it was Clara, Melvin, and Bertha. Bertha didn't go, just Clara. Because Bertha had married Charlie Miller, and they lived for years and years down on what was called the Melvin farm. That's why Donald Melvin.
Okay.
And then during that time, Clara, who was a Melvin, she went to Stowe to work.
And met
Mr.
Kaiser.
Mr. Kaiser. Well, man, Ned
And
Kaiser.
married him.
And they
and
married
then Bertha
them.
married him.
Yeah. They married them, and they came up. By that time, the Melvins were getting old, and so they went up on the place up there, and he farmed up there.
Melvin's owned most of Bar Hill?
Man,
Melvin's owned most of Bar Hill?
they did it one time, yeah. Yeah.
And where did they go when the Millers moved into the Melvin farm?
Oh, I think Mr. Melvin, one or the other, that is a little back further than I can remember. But they probably had stayed up there possibly with Bertha. I think her mother, Clara, I think her mother was living when they came up there. I think that's one reason why they went up there to kind of take over when they went. Now, I wouldn't want to say that, but I would assume that that's how it was. Anyway, they farmed there for a long, long time, and during that time, as I say, Mr. Miller passed away, and Bertha,
Married Mr. Kaiser.
during that time, and Mrs. Clara passed away, so Mr. Kaiser sold the farm to Linville Brown. And he married Bertha Miller, who was Miller. He married her, and that's Bertha Kaiser. And they moved down here at the village, and he ran the Melvin farm. And he passed away there. So
And
she had the
sold
farm.
it to Donald.
Yeah, she wouldn't sell the house, but she sold the land, the fields and things.
According to Donald, is that they traded.
Well, they might have traded some. Donald ought to know.
Yeah,
And
he said they traded houses because he wanted to run the farm.
Yeah, that was after that. He wanted to run the farm, and
Or she wanted him to run the farm.
yeah, and
so
she
he said they would trade, and he was living at the parsonage
he
then.
would run the farm.
And they said,
Boy,
well,
he got
let's
that
trade
thing.
houses then.
Yeah, that's what they done.
And so that he could work the farm. And then he said, well, listen, you're living there, you're happy. Why don't I just work the farm? We'll just stay in our own houses.
Yeah.
So then he must have had both at the end.
Well, they did,
She
but
died.
Bertha wouldn't give up their home down there. But finally, she had to. She wanted that. But it worked beautiful for Don. He bought the land first. He didn't have to pay. Of course, land wasn't worth much then. And it is a very hard farm to carry on that field, down. And of course, Donald on the home farm, that nice field up through there.
That's his
All
home
the way
behind
up there, all that land up into
Yeah.
that Malongwood, that's a beautiful field, very productive.
Right.
It was a nice little farm. And so then she wasn't very well, and the Barringtons, she was in with that group, and they were going to Florida winters, and they wanted her to go with them. And of course, she had.
Mrs. Kaiser?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
socialized with the Barringtons?
Oh yeah, They were all, and we had a clan here. I'm not making distinctions, but Mrs. Kaiser had quite a lot of property. She gave a room down to the nursing home, I think, in memory of herself. She had more money than people around here she had.
Where'd
But-
she get it all?
Well, they were good thrifty, the Melvins were good thrifty farmers. And Charlie Miller was, I remember, they knew he wasn't going to live, and he was a great friend of my father and mother. They were in the same group. And I never forget, we didn't know just what to do. But my mother, we got a strawberry basket. and she had us go over and pick a whole dish of Mayflowers. And we had that dinner, and then she got us cleaned up and so forth. And she gave us boys that basket, and we used to take them down to Charlie Miller, because we didn't know, but they knew we wasn't going to live a very while. And I'll never forget, and he was setting up in band, and Mrs. Kaiser or Mrs. Miller then went and got the Mayflowers and put them in a nice little dish and brought them into it. And isn't it funny how little things like that you can remember? And but so they were very thrifty, and they didn't, they were a good deal like the old, we about a fourth of the population in Greensboro were Scots, good old Scots.
Scott Churchill.
And I'm telling you, they supported their religion and their church, and they supported things that are in town. Oh boy, I'm telling you otherwise. They weren't, I wouldn't say close, but they were thrifty, let's put it that way. And they all made.
So by the time Mrs. Kaiser died, there was a lot of money.
There was a lot of money, and the Melvins were the ones that more or less, they were they had a lot, they were quite well to do. I'm not bragging, I don't want to, but in this state, when my grandfather and grandmother passed away, they had $48,000 on their ticket, besides the land.
That's pretty good back then.
Well, I'm telling you, it was a lot of sickness. I remember because my grandfather Cook, he had hardened of the arteries, and he was in bed for near a year. I remember we used to go up to see him. When we go up, we went up a lot. We'd just go and see Grandpa for a few minutes till I come on. And they had a special nurse for him from Barry. Her name was Mrs. Dodd. And she took care of him because his wife was, of course, long in years. And but that, how it was. But, no, the Kaisers, and they were good thrifty. But as I say, Donald, he bought the land, and he got that for not having to pay too much. And then Mrs. Kaiser wouldn't give up the house. But finally she gave it up there, and still she didn't want to give it up. So Donald says they traded. I don't know how that was, but I do know that he got the house with.
Did she ever live in the parsonage? No, because the Gebbys
don't
moved
think
into
she
that.
did.
I think he sold that to the Gebbys.
Yes, he did. He sold that to the Gebbys. But during that time, Mr. Barrington, anybody that had that was left like that alone, he always maneuvered around some way. So he was kind of the guardian in a way, but he kind of looked over their
money.
Yeah, that's right. There's a Mrs. Parquette, which was a Smith, that was loved up by Bernie Atherton's folks. That was North Smith's place. And she married...
The red one on the right there?
Bernie's place. You go up to East Christ Street.
Yeah, and the red house way up on the hill.
Just as you go up over the hill and drop down,
yeah,
that's Bernie Atherton's old home.
But it's up on the hill, right?
Yeah. Not where he is now.
No, but it's on the hill, on the main road to Christbury.
Yes, Christbury. You go up, come up the hill, then you drop down, and it's that farm on your right. Sets off the road.
It sets up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, she was Simpson, and she married a Parquette, and he ran a drugstore in Hadrick.
Oh, yes. I remember that name. I have little bottles with Paquette Farming, yeah.
Well, of course, in them days, there's folks, a feed store man ran a feed store or a sawmill, or same as this today, a drugstore. You never see them going under, really.
Right.
And there's an occupation that was really, although Mr. Barrington had been for his wife, he would have gone, he would have had to change when he first took it over. Nobody can understand why either, but Hyde's, over at St. John's, the feed company, put him in over here.
That's how he got here. Didn't he run the mill, the
Yes,
grist mill?
he ran the mill, grist mill. They put him in here as a substation, and then he sold it. They sold it to Mr. Barrington. And of course, they had to feed all through here. But I don't know just what reason. I remember Bert Willie. He had a little hard sledding with a big family. He said, well, come dumb it. He said, if my wife had had the money that John Barrington had, he says, I could flourish around a little.
So he got his first money from his wife, Bars. John Barrington.
Barrington. I would say he got his first, I wouldn't say where, but being the big grain company in St. John's where they put him over here, I would say probably they backed him up. But I don't know just how it was, but I do know his wife came from Cabot. I didn't know the name of it. So not
Bar?
Bar, right. And they were quite well to do. Quite well to do.
So
Anyway,
Barrington became Mrs. Paquette's guardian too? You started
more or
to
less.
say, yeah.
They go to Florida and he took Mrs. Kaiser. Mrs. Paquette went for years down there. And when they come back here, yes, he lived up here in his house, and he went to Hardwick and bought that nice place in Hardwick, and that was more or less so Mrs. Paquette could come and stay with them summers, and they go to Florida winter. And he kind of ran Bertha Kaiser's the last 2 or 3 years she was here, and it was all Barrington this and Barrington that. And he always
was a wheeler dealer.
He was a wheeler dealer.
What was Mrs. Paquette's first name? Her maiden name was Simpson.
Yes.
And so she was on the farm where Bernie Atherton's folks was.
Yeah, she was at Simpson.
Atherton's bought it from Mrs. Paquette?
No, they bought it from the Simpsons, I believe. No. Mrs. Paquette was the daughter.
Was the daughter of the Simpsons.
Yeah, of the Simpsons who passed it. Now, Bernie could tell you right that on the bottom, but that's the way I have it.
And then Atherton.
But when I married Paquette.
Then Downey. So that was another Simpson that's disappeared.
Yeah.
She didn't have kids? Did she have kids?
No, not that I know of.
Do you know anything about Gertrude Campbell? The last Simpson that lived at the Highland Lodge? What was he? Gertrude. She was Campbell. She married Wesley Campbell, who is Harold Collins' grandfather, Wesley Campbell. That's before your time, I think.
Yes, before. No.
But she was with Barrington, too. She had something to do with him, with John. So she was also a widow, alone with a farm that he was.
Would you say the name?
Campbell. Mrs. Campbell, Gertrude Campbell. Campbell. She ended up in Hardwick. She lived over at Chase Refrigeration in an apartment there. And John Barrington seems to have been.
Sure, Campbell.
See, she lived at the farm. She was good friends with the Goodriches that you know, Charles and Morris. She sold the farm to them, to their father. And then,
of course, that's where I remember.
That's from that point on. You remember?
Right.
Well, she was before them. She sold the farm to them, and when Wesley Campbell died, and she moved to Hardwick, and somehow Barrington was involved with her too. There's another, because she had like an apartment full of all that Victorian furniture that she brought out of the farm, and somehow he was in there doing something strange.
Yeah, he was. I remember when my father and Ned Carter started him out to represent the town of Greensboro. I started out, of course, he was quite a man in the church, a man in the community. Well, he was a feeble man, he was dealing
Barrington
with everybody.
was, yeah.
And I remember quite a lot of people said, and I remember my dad coming home. Well, he said, I don't know, my mother and folks didn't want Dad to work as hard as he was doing. He worked nights and days because they had a strong man in Howden Calvary, which was one of the select men. But some of the people, and Mr. Kaiser, I imagine perhaps he would like to go. But people were getting kind of sick of it. First it was George Davis, and then to Allie Tolman, and then to Howden Calvary. And they were slick men, and if they weren't slick men, they were listers. And they got around then, you see, every town had their representative. And they got around then so that it was either one of them would go or else they would put up a man. And some little thing that would come up in town and they'd say, well, we'll get so-and-so to do it. And So
ran the
they
town.
would do it, and they'd say, well, if you do as we want you to do, we'll see to represent your town.
Now, what era is this? About when was this? The 20s or?
Well, let's see. Oh boy.
It's hard to peg these things down. What were their
Well,
names?
Dad he represented the town in 47, and this was back of that. I should know, but
Okay.
I don't. I would say it was, see, Foster Gaming went. Foster Gaming went. He was like, maybe 2 years before his dad went. I said 47. Yeah. 45. I would say it'd be around in the 44s or something like
in the
that.
40s.
In the 40s, yes, let's put it that way.
It's close enough.
Yeah, and you see, back then we were rather fussy. We wanted somebody to go to Montpelier that would go down and represent the town, to not have fishing on the lake on Sundays. And Robert Willie was a big one for that, and a lot. I don't know, of course you don't want to hear, but I can tell you how it happened with my father. But that isn't anything we want to get out. But I'm just showing you how they select men, how they work things. And that's why Dad, it kind of irked him. They thought they'd break up that ring. And everybody else that wanted to go could go. And boy, I'm telling you, it was nip and tuck. It was down to within the 2 votes before town meeting day.
And who went?
To who would go. And Mr. Callan would beat him by 4 votes, I think. And so then they just waited, and he went again the next time. And that was more or less because Mr. Calwood, he wasn't too firm on, well, his man didn't care. Sundays didn't mean that much to him, let's put it that way. So we had a man that I wanted very much to go. I don't think they ever used Robert Richardson, just right. He was a wonderful stunt man. But he was a little he liked to go out and have a little nip once in a while. And he never interfered with his town work or his farm work. He was a wonderful farmer. And I always thought he should get it. And I was just about voting him but they were wondering, Mr. Davidson passed away, and Warner wasn't going to, he didn't want it. I figured it should be somebody to man him. But after this is what, I went down and I spoke to 1 or 2, and I said, no, I said that you send Bob down there, and they said that he'd have too little time. And I said, oh, shucks. But they never sent him. And so they sent Robert Wilson. And it was something that Robert could do, but I think they sent him down 2 years, and I don't know, 3.
Is this Robert Wilson?
Yeah, I
alive now?
don't know. And of course he voted for that. And I think it was one of the last times that he was down that they broke it. During that time, the Fish and Game Club at Hardwick was very strong. And of course they wanted us to fish on the lake Sundays. And boy, they put a lot of work into it. And Dick Thompson was a great fisher down at the man. Dick Thompson, you probably heard of Dick. He was just a good-hearted, hard-working fellow, but he loved to fish. And he wanted to fish too. And they put a lot of work in here. Well, it got where that there was just Caspin Lake and another lake down in, well, we go through it when you go the White River from St. Johnsbury down. And when that is where Rutledge lived. I married Emmett Young's wife's sister. It's where Esden, he went to legislature. And
There were only two lakes in the whole state where you couldn't fish on Sunday?
That's right. So they got up and they said that they put up with it long enough. That the law was going to include every lake, and so they voted. And so that's the way it was. But this little episode that my dad had with the listers and everything, well, I just ended up this way. The listers, they were going to vote because our cows, Mr. Tallman sold that. That was his land and all that. And one year there was quite, boy, we thought that was all. He sold that pasture, his aunt, fenced right up, it was only 3 lots. He sold that for $5,000. And Sam Campbell sold the bar, by the bar side, that ledge in there, sold that for $5,000. Well, Mr. Tallman didn't have any water. So after they bought it, they thought he was going to leave his cows in there, you know. And they went to see him and he said, no, he says, I've sold you that. He says, I don't want nothing to do with it. And he said he had turned his cows over at the other side every noon anyway. So they didn't say no, and of course the grass got to growing, so they come down and see Dad. Want to know if they mind if they tore down the fence and let his cows, and there was a lot of good eating over around the clubhouse. And Dad says, no, he says, I don't mind, but he said, I want to make sure, he says, you go up and tell Mr. Tallman what you want, what's on your mind.
So the land that the country club was on was Tallman's land?
The fence right throughout, by the country club house is today. That is, and there's 3 greens. After you go across the fence line, you have the long green up.
And your land was up there next to it?
Yeah, right up on the knoll, went right by them maple trees out, about 100 feet set back there. Went from there right straight down the road, went around towards Wilson's, by slabs. Then it comes up, I know it comes up in back of Wilson's sugar plant. Then goes down that way again, comes up next to the field between Potter's and where, I don't think it's where Henry Rishin used to live. Oh, who's his name? I can't. I never can think of that. That lives down below
Potter's. Yeah. I don't know what that is either. I don't know what
and then we
lives there.
turn there and come right out straight to this road.
Does your land...
So they came down and they said, no, Mr. Tallman said that he'd never use it. And they said, well, we think Piney. And he said, well, he says, I don't think Piney will turn his cows in there. Well, I went along 2 or 3 weeks and finally they put the bark down and the cows went in there. Mr. Tallman was was he gracious.
But he didn't
say anything to us or anything. But he see Dad and he said, I didn't think you would ever do that. Well, Dad said, I told them to come up and see you. And he said, they see me twice. And he says, they said it was their land. So we turned them in.
But Tolman didn't want to use it, so why was he mad?
No, oh well, just because he didn't want to see our cows in there, I guess. I don't know, but that was Mr. Tolman. Well, now Mrs. Van funny looked up. So when it came to listing, he was the lister. And he came down and raised our property on the farm here. So our taxes were $15 more than they used to have. And that didn't settle very good with Dad, so he went to it was either 15 or 25, can't remember. So Dad went to the listers and had a hearing in the board, and they were going to meet and so forth. So Dad went around to see to the listers what they thought about it, and there was 2 of them that were, at that time, we were definitely pretty much, they were summer folks for it. They didn't think much of them, and especially with the golf course up there, that was something way out of their mind. But there's one that you never could quite decide, well, I might just well tell you, it was Morris Hoyt, the band, so they had the meeting. And they voted to leave it as the tax bill was. And so then went to some of them, they said, well, you know, the one that's Morris Hoy. And George Davis told him, he said, if you go up and vote against that for party, he says, I'll see you go to the legislature. So they knew that's what it was. But don't you see, they thought we should pay a little rent on it. So they, in a roundabout way, they got mad, so he paid $15 a year low. I remember Wally over here in Randolph, one of the best lawyers in New York City. He's the one that came and sued the group that bought your place up there in Barrington, and because Barrington had the outlet to the lake, they let the water up so high, done a lot of damage. Railroad station man at the man, when he says, I'm going to change their mind. So he went down. I remember I went down with him that morning. He went down to see Alden Perry. One of the Perry boys, the one that worked. I remember Dad speaking to him, and he dropped everything and won. He said, why? He said, you never would think of, why would you think of my going down there? He never been anywhere in his life, but he had all ever thought the world of. And Dad told him, he says, well, he says, you never represented your town or so forth. He says, it's time you did. And he told him why he thought he should, and he knew everybody was backing him. He said, well, he says, I'll go home, and I go to dinner, and he says, I'll talk it over with my wife, and I'll let you know this evening. He got up, said he'd go.
And that's Alden Perrin?
That was Alden Perrin. And I remember he had his petition, brought it to church, everybody signed it, so they wouldn't fish.
So he went.
So he went. That's all, they wouldn't fish in the lake on Sunday. But Morris Hoy didn't go, boy. But but I remember Mr. Smith, he says, you talk about Tammany Hall. He says, you have a little Tammany Hall sometimes right around in Greensboro.
Who was Mrs. Smith?
Yeah.
Who was Mrs. Smith? Yeah.
He was the big lawyer. I can tell you,
Okay.
his show you his camp. He was from New York City. One of the top lawyers in New York City. He's known all around. And my dad was telling me.
There's Randolph.
Yeah. And, Wade, Jocelyn, Howard, Carpenter.
Did the Carpenter camp?
He rented it. It wasn't his camp. He rented it.
Silas Miller.
I think it was Courier. There's Wade. There's Carpenter. I turned down on this wrong. It's one of them three. It's the big shingle camps right there. And he was the one that took the case. And they made him look like 30 cents. I remember when we would deliver milk to him, and he was telling Dad, he says, well, he says they've got the deed and everything there, but he says, I could shoot holes right through it. He says, if we could get people enough interested with enough money, we could force them to build what they bought it for, with the idea. He says, you can force them to build, or he says, buy it, and then you go ahead and build. And I remember probably 8 years ago, town meeting, I believe it was Mr. Smith or somebody up there got up and spoke about something about, was it the time of the energy? Spoke something about, see if they could get the water. I can't reveal it, but I bet he, I don't know.
My father-in-law? No.
Which one? No, it was one of the boys, I think. No, I can't tell. energy, and of course, Kim Michael had jumped right up, and he said, well, of course, everybody didn't realize it, but I thought in the back of my head, boy, oh boy, maybe that thing that took place 20 some odd years ago that went been so wrong after all. See, they were going to put a dam in down by the old mill in that area somewhere to hold back water, and then they decided that perhaps they go further down and build quite a big dam, and they were going to dam that up to. That's what Hardwick bought it for in the first place, was to help make electricity, same as the one down below Woodburn. That's what they planned on doing.
Well, I probably should ask you about some of these boarding houses.
Yeah, I could sit here all afternoon.
Let's see, God, do you remember going way back? This is before you would remember, but you may have heard of it. A hotel where Robert Wilson's house is.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of a small hotel in there.
And you don't know who owned it?
I don't know a thing about it. Archie Kerberson was Mort Kerberson's boy, and they lived up by the Gouliks then.
In town?
Yeah, town. And there was a family of Baddins. They're related to the Baddins. Kenneth Baddins is their aunt. There was a Baddin girl that worked here in the village, and there was a Baddin that married up the river, and Lucille Bullard, who lived in the band. Her mother was a Baddin. And Lee Lumsden, Mama, lived upon the Lumsden farm, a nice set of buildings that were burned. Just beyond, as you go up what they call Baker Hill, is a little yellow house now. Just beyond that, one of the most beautiful set of buildings.
That's the Baker Hutchinson Tavern, all that.
And she was back. Well, he actually got to go in with her. They weren't no more like than white and black. But they were very thrifty, saved on money. So they told Archie if he would marry her, that they would build him that house and give him his home.
Where Robert Wilson lives now.
Yeah.
So he did build that.
So
he married, what's her name?
Her name was, another one married Lester Perrin. Her name was Clara. Let's see.
What was her last name?
They were Baddin girls.
Baddins.
Baddin. They were related to the Baddins in East Hardwick here. They're related, they had Kenneth's aunt. His father was the brothers and all them Baddin, with sisters.
And they built that right like around 1910
I'm
or
positive that I know that Morton, the Kerbersons, built that place.
And where did they own the store then?
Yep.
They owned the store.
In fact, I think they built. There was Morton, and he had a brother. And they lived up where the old hospital used to be, where the health center is. That was the Custerson place. They had a daughter named Rue.
Lou?
Rue. And when their place was up for sale, my aunt bought that place from them. And
But
if
like
Donald, was you up to Donald's the other day?
Yeah.
He probably showed you the nice bright dry maple in the way. It's an old. He's very proud of that. He got that from the Kerberson place, from Rue, when she sold her. They sold her furniture. I don't think she's living now. I don't know. She was the only child.
So there was the cottage. I think it was called the Cottage Hotel on that site, something like that.
Yeah.
That burned or something, or it got torn down, or you have no idea.
I know that would be for. That took
It's probably
place
before you were born.
Oh yes. And not only that, but that would be before. Probably that's why Morton, I must remember his name. He lived upon the hill, probably burnt. The land was there, but that's nothing. See, they were town clerk for years and years. There's always commissions in Moet, and then actually took it
So
over.
they pretty much ran the
They ran
town
the
too.
thing in, and there's another thing too. When you're in a position like that, and of course they were quite well to do, you know, all storekeepers. If something, probably that burned down, and
It was right near
they figured it
their
was right
house.
nearby, and they wanted to watch to see what built up. They probably got the land for a little nothing. That's why they decided to put the house there. And I do know this for a fact that Archie, if he would marry her, they'd build the house, and that's what they done, and they moved in there. And as I said, they were Archie and this Miss Batten was a wonderful woman, but very. She didn't care for any fun of any kind or anything. And Archie, he was just a average live boy, and so they didn't hit it off too well. They always lived together, but there's no connection there at all. Really, you know, like as you might think.
And another old place that you might have heard of is the where Siggy lives now. Was there was supposed to be Conant place?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Greensboro, what was it called? Greensboro
I don't remember the name.
Village Hotel, but you don't know anything about that?
No, I don't. But I remember the name, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think Mrs. Goss, I remember that. Yeah, Conant, that name come to me now. They were running the place, and the Gosses bought there, and I have it.
So what is this about the Gosses? That's the Lakeview Inn, right?
Yes, I might
Okay.
get this to town clerk. 'Cause, you have to be. I haven't been in this organization here until just since you about started. But I have found out this much that whatever you do, you've got to be pretty near accurate. Because there's always somebody picking up or they know what they're doing. Now you take years back, and Lewis Hill was one of the old standbys, and I wish I could get him to still come back. I've seen him once twice, but he calls it other work, and I don't know, he just kind of maybe got
Yeah, I've been talking to him about this though, about the
mixed up.
Aaron Hill
Well,
Tavern
he
and
knows.
stuff. He knows a lot
Lewis
of
and
stuff.
I, we talk back and forth a lot. Of course, there's a little, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
The hills are the old settlements. They're older than the Cooks are in a sense.
Right.
But because they were the first teachers, I believe the first student was the Hill, I know it was. And I'm not sure what the first child that was born in Greensboro was in with the Hills. And I've been up to the old place up in the old house there where the Hills stay. But you see,
But they just have so many stories that they've heard, and they have so many documents. Like Lewis Hill's got all kinds of old papers and
Oh, I have.
pictures, and you probably do too.
Are you in a hurry?
Nope.
I'll just show you what I got, but I don't want to let it go out because
I shouldn't.
I lost a book one time and it's hard, but I'll just
Sure.
give you an idea what I got. Some of them with a sword. And I have the deed, which I'm trying to find. I've given quite a few things here to Lewis and Nancy, and I would to others, but the writing, it's so hard, but most all this stuff is way, 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 way back, And so many people would, like to get in, but I can't let it go like
No,
that.
you shouldn't.
And I hope Mrs. Fisher doesn't feel it, but it doesn't really do them and don't do me any good. I've been quite a lot of stuff out of it. Trouble of it is, you take some of these letters like that, for instance, and I wouldn't mind. They wanted to print things over here. It's just the families writing and things, but you see how they used to write? You know, they all pen and quill and all that stuff. And if you thought paper was short, which I don't think it was, but they'd always write like that, and then they go
Finish
over
up
here.
in the margin, yeah.
But you see, that letter was written in 1874, and I've got a lot later than that.
Mm-hmm.
See, that letter right there is 100 and... Oh, man.
A little less than 100 years old, a little more than 100 years old.
Almost 100 years old. And I got... But I have found the deed in there. This is just a little thing. But there was a few years ago, they just called that the Norris Cemetery. And that isn't right. You see, my grandfather, his father, there was 2 girls, and one of them married a Huntington. So that gives you quite a lot of leverage up there. Mm-hmm. And the other one married Norris Lincoln. That's up by Ruth Campbell, up here at the corner. Mm-hmm. That was the Lincoln, and that was a big. Well, it was quite a family then. Mm-hmm. Lincolns, you read them in the all here. So you see, I have a connection with them 2 places that were really old, and the Lincolns gave the land for that cemetery up there. It's called the Lincoln and Norris now. But there was 5 or 10 years now, probably, they dropped the name Lincoln and there's always the Norris. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really mind, but I knew my folks and were in there, it was Lincoln, and I knew we had a connection. Mm-hmm. So I went down to Holland Lyons. It happened, the folks, a lot of these summer people come back here for burial. And I don't know, they just, naturally, perhaps they got a mistake. So I had that, I said, I don't mind at all about the noise. But I said, I definitely don't want to lose the name Lincoln, because I said that carries a lot of what they meant. And I have found the deed in here. And I've looked through there again. I think I have it in another place. When I go through and I find something, I take and put them in another place that I have just cram jam for all the stuff. And I don't know. So coming to that. One of the sad things of getting old. Not getting old, but I've got that buggy that I finally got in there and I'm fighting.
Oh yeah, can you tell me what the history of that is again, the buggy? It's your brother's? No, your uncle's.
It's my grandfather's cook. It was his brother. It was his brother, and he went. So.
And his name is?
Charles.
Charles Cook.
And he went to want to be a doctor. And he went to the big, I didn't know, Dartmouth, school down that way. Medical school anyway, and he graduated. I've got his book upstairs and everything. I'll get that. But you see that's just crammed full. All them letters like that.
And then he went to Dartmouth Medical School. Where did he practice?
Well, he was a little smarter, I guess, than the doctors. When he got out of school, he went to Boston General Hospital or something like that. So when he got out, he settled in Natick, which is a suburb of Boston. I believe him. He practiced there all his life, and he done very, very well.
And that's where he had the carriage.
That's where he did the carriage.
So how did it get up here?
Well, I've got the picture of the carriage. I can go up and get his picture in the book, but I've given them to Watson, but I have some pictures. If you want, I'll go up and get the
That's all right.
pictures of him and his place where he graduated, I believe. He's writing this up too. I took up that and his picture right there.
What year did he go to medical school? Is that the Dartmouth?
That was, yeah, but it was wrong on that date. 69.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm coming. I get mixed up. You have to give me line. Yeah, there he is. I think but don't make no difference to find his graduation picture. And that's why I kept it. And I put this in here. But he went, I have a picture of his home and everything. There it is.
That's great.
69, now let's see, that'd be what?
117 years ago?
Yeah.
118 years ago.
Yeah, right. And he the pictures I didn't take a look up there, they're up there too. And that carriage is shown where he had a picture taken of it where he was going into one of his people to doctor him, and as he backed out, someone snapped a picture of the carriage.
What is the, how did it get up here?
Well, now I'll tell you. He married a girl from Barry, and she was a very nice person, a great reader. And he's being a doctor, and he was a wonderful doctor, and he was on most all the committees of the hospital there, and he was a great reader himself. We've got upstairs, we've got boxes and boxes of his books. The only thing of it is, he was pretty much like all them folks. Their religion they worked with there. It was a part of their everyday living more than it is today. And he has, well, for instance, I'm writing up on how my father, a lot of people asked me to write up on my dad's, how he got to sing Scott songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on that. And this goes in with the Goss. We'll continue.
Okay, let's continue on Goss.
Well, I tell you.
Oh no, I still want to know how the carriage got up
The
here.
carriage. I know. I like Trina. And they never had no children. But every Christmas, he never forgot his family here, the Cooks. At Christmas, he always sent them a nice present, and my mother. And it was rather odd. He had his first 2 weeks in August was his vacation. He'd always come up to the farm, of course, and at that time, the Cooks were taking the cream to East Hardwick. And he'd always stop in here and take us two little boys and just we'd take
This
us
is
down.
okay, this is your great uncle.
Yeah. He'd always come home, but he was a good horseman, and he just loved to work on the farm. So they let him every morning, about twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. They always took the cream in the buckboard. The pair of horses, and boy, they didn't walk any. They trotted right along. He'd He'd stop in and take us to Boytown, and then leave us off when he come back. And you know, this is the way he thought. Early in the spring, we'd get a package, my brother and I, and it would be garden seeds. And usually there was a lot of popcorn in it. So that meant that Dad had to plow up a little piece, and we had to have a garden. And now I'm telling you, when Uncle Charlie come in August, he won't hear very long before he won't say, well,
where's the garden?
let's go down and look at the garden. And I remember it was just on the other side of the lane. But that was the way he was. He wanted us to be brought up, you know, to have something, and get something out of it. He was a very deep-minded man. Well, when he died, and we'll get to this, when he died, he had a beautiful home and he had lovely furniture. And everything was marked. Every single thing in that home was marked. So when he passed away, my folks went down. It was in the wintertime. And they went down and they went to the house and they got a car set on the railroad track. And they took everything and put it in that car. Everything. And when they came to the last of it, he knew that Aunt Lena liked horses, and everybody liked horses. He had a beautiful wife, and he was really. And he told him, he said, now if you would like the horse, or any of the things that go with the horse, he says, you're welcome to them. He says, if you don't, he says, you call up such and such a person. He says, I made arrangements with him to take care of the horse. Well, Aunt Lena, they see that horse, you know, and everything, and there was the wagon, that old wagon, and of course that Uncle George's mother, they didn't want really that left down there, so they put that in the other end of the car, and up the horse and the wagon. And Uncle George took it up, of course, and put it in the barn up there at the old cook place. And it was there for years and years.
They get used here at all? They use it here at all?
No, they probably did just a little. But I don't think there was a horse in the front as you went in the barn.
'Cause I have a picture of the lodge with a carriage just like that in front of it, so people were using them.
Well, yeah.
Maybe they were visiting.
Yeah, maybe. It was. This is, of course, is the doctors. That throws the carriage off a little different than buggy or other carriages.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
all
They might have been
fancier,
visiting.
maybe.
They probably did. But I doubt if Uncle George would.
I'll have to take that picture down and compare it and see if it's really like that.
I have the, but anyway, so they got it. Well, of course, then my brother, he was all horses, and he brought it from the place down here, and he was going to have a horse and so forth and so on. So he spoke to Uncle George, and Uncle George said, well, of course, Charles didn't want anything about the farm. He went, they moved to East Hardwick. I say he's the fourth, fifth generation. He's still living. So when they had the auction up there, Uncle George, they brought the wagon down here to my brother. And it's been down there for all these years.
Where does he live in the
Well, you know where David Brosho lives?
Yeah.
Well, it's that little place coming this way. That little farm, that nice white house in there, the red barn. About that. And that's where he started practicing medicine.
Oh, so your brother was a doctor too?
My brother.
Uh-huh.
That was my brother, yes. Oh,
He
yeah.
was a doctor too?
Yeah. He, and so that's what he wanted, but of course he went to Guam in the first, and then that war, and then he came back, and they were short of doctors, and he couldn't get his discharge. But he did come back and practice from there for about 2 years, and then.
From East Hardwick?
Yes, he had an office in East Hardwick. He was up here to the
What was his name?
Howard.
Howard Cook.
Dr. Howard.
Dr. Howard Allen.
Well, yeah, that's Nancy's. She was here with him, and they had 3 children.
Nancy was his wife?
Yes, Nancy was his wife. And then there was the children of David and Nancy and Joe. Let's see.
Where are they?
Well, I know where they are. I want to get that first name. I should know. Vivian, what's the name of David? Nancy's. William. he went to Michigan State, and he is teaching, and he was doing landscaping.
What's his last name?
Allen.
But I thought Nancy, did she get married?
Yeah, Howard.
Okay.
Howard. Nancy is Howard's wife.
Okay.
She was from Connecticut. He met her when he was interning in Bridgeport. So.
I guess we should get back to this, what I'm here for.
No, I'm all right. I give it.
Let's see, the Goss boarding house. What do you remember about that?
Well, I have it down here. Her name was Catherine, and she married John Goss. And they bought that piece of land in there in 1907. And they started building right onto it. So it's about 1908 or so, 9, that they started up their places up.
And it's the part next to the Woodruffs that was the original part, I think. The part next to the Woodruffs is the
No,
original part?
this is the part. This is the part that they built where Stone lives, regular Lakeview Inn.
Right, no, but I mean, what was the original section of it? I mean, it's big now and sprawling.
Yeah, well, it was just a little small. They had added on a lot to it when I used to go down there, but someone has told me it was just an ordinary. It was quite a large place, so she couldn't have taken on orders in there.
It was called Goss Boarding House?
Yes. I don't know what it's called, Lakeview Inn then. No, I don't think it was. I think the Lakeview Inn was put on after the group from St. Johnsbury put it on. But there's a boarding house. I have a little book here I was trying to write. Right over here.
Right there.
So this is when it was started, and it was built in around 1908, because it said in the town records, and the buildings were erected right away on it. It said that in 1909. And so they took in boarders, some, but mostly then the summer people used to come to their camps. And that was for all summer, more or less. And then they get sand land, bring up their trunks and things, and they put in for all summer.
And the Gosses probably boarded workers, or did they board?
No, I could. They had a few, but this John Goss, who married my aunt, again, there you are. Aunt Maggie was my grandmother's sister, and they came from Sioux City. I got laughing.
John Goss, what, came from Sioux City?
No, he met his wife was her name was Maggie Killemeyer, and Catherine Killemeyer, and she came from Sioux City with her mother.
And that's your aunt, your great aunt.
She was my aunt. We'll leave it there then, because then we get into another long story. But during the winter, we'll keep right on the Gosses. During the winter, he and his brother, he had a brother here too, but he mostly, they worked on wagons. They had a shop, I would say, probably, I don't know, but I'd assume it was somewhere near up in where Holland Lyles were. There were 2 or 3 shops in there. And of course, back then, top buggies, everything, was a lot to be done in the winter time. They'd take the top buggies, paint them up, and especially there was a lot of work on the top, making the curtains and things like that. So that was what they mostly done. during the winter. If you want to prove it, I have
So they ran the boarding house in the summer and...
yeah, and then in the winter they probably had a few, but I don't know anything about it in the summer.
Do you know who would board there, the summer people or local workers?
Well, no, I don't, but I can tell you who used to come there.
Okay.
I have that down here somewhere. I just went over my mind when it was. I got a lot of stuff in here. Right here. As I said, the people would come, and stay for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they get up and get their breakfast. And then these people would get their lunch in their camps. Well, when it came for supper time, the big meal of the day, that's when they all came up, like Mrs. Goss, same with the boarding house, a hotel, and these places. Anyway, these are just a few that I ran on this.
So you're saying they didn't, they stayed?
In their camps, but went out to supper.
Okay, but where'd they have breakfast?
They'd have breakfast in their camps, you see.
They lived in their camps, but came to Goss's for dinner.
They came, what you would call dinner, and that would be...
The evening meal.
The evening meal, and here they are, right here, some of them. They were the Urbans.
Oh, the Urbans, okay.
And the Parrys.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kellys. And the Hardys. And the Bears.
What's that? The
That's
Bears.
the old man, Mr. and Mrs. Bear.
Now, this is at when Goss was there?
Yes. And the Landons. And the Stones. Now, this is the old man Stone, and now it's probably...
Sydney's father, maybe?
Yes. I remember him, he used to take wood to him.
So that's like in the 20s, or the 10s, even teens.
Yeah. Now, this would be probably just the earliest, but these are the people of the old type that came. The old parent. Now, you've got the Kelly.
Now, how did you find this out, that they stayed there?
I had to slip, because Aunt Maggie had written it down on something, and I found the slip.
Aunt Maggie?
Yeah, she was my Aunt Maggie. I call her Aunt Maggie, but that was Mrs. Goss. Margaret Goss.
And it's Catherine? No,
yeah,
Margaret.
Her name was Catherine. Yeah.
But you called her Aunt Maggie.
I called her Aunt Maggie. That was the first name was Maggie. Maggie Catherine. Oh yeah, we used to go down there for Thanksgiving. I remember, we were just little boys.
So you ate there?
Oh yeah, we used to go down for Thanksgiving. They lived there for a good many years. Until he died. Then she moved over up to what's the parsonage now, over the church. She lived by the
Travers, where the...
Yeah, Aunt Maggie lived there for years and years.
Let me see that little piece of, let's see. This little piece of paper. W.W. and Catherine Goss bought the land from A.E. Kinney and sold it to John Goss. Mm-hmm. So John Goss's wife is Maggie, not Catherine. Or not?
Maggie.
Yeah, you called her Aunt Maggie. So
yeah,
Catherine...
Catherine is her sisters. That's the one that married the cook. There were two sisters.
Okay, but that's a different, that's Maggie's sister. Okay.
That's right. I'm glad you picked up on that. You call her Aunt Maggie.
Okay. Yep. So you used to eat their Thanksgiving dinner. So you remember the Gosses?
Oh, yeah. Well. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've been down there. The room I've been in it, since Stone's been there. Of course, it was fixed over. The Bennetts are the ones that we will go on. The Bennetts were the ones that she sold it to a Richards.
Who did? The Gosses?
Yeah, Mrs. Goss.
Goss sold it to Richards.
Way back. And when he passed away, they sold it to a family of the name of Richards. Because I have it in my dad's diary. We used to drawing wood. He drove wood to all these camps around there, and that was a big thing. My dad was a better woodsman than he was there.
So drove wood to the camps.
Yeah, brought it to the Richards, and
then after that was Blair?
Yeah.
Have you heard Blair?
No, I think it was the Blairs. And the Blairs sold it to...
Now, somebody said the Perrins were there too for a while.
What?
That they expanded it, built on it, and boarded people too? You don't remember that?
Oh, I don't remember that. I do remember that the Bennetts.
And then the Bennetts, yeah.
The Bennetts, they done quite a lot to it.
Now, during all this time, it was a boarding house for the
Yep,
summer.
all the time. And then the Bennetts sold it to a couple in Stowe.
Anderson.
Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
And they done quite a lot of
They
the
made
more-
it more of a hotel and
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
And
but-
fancy cooking and all.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to cook. My dad worked for him one summer after he sold the farm to me. He worked down there, odd jobs. He used to always cook everything in the pot. Great man, he cooked in the pot. He was a foreigner. I think
Danish, I think.
I think he was Danish or Swiss.
Yeah, I think it was Danish.
Danish.
That's what Bert Stone said.
Yeah, and his wife was a school teacher.
Right.
And
She's still alive. She lives in Morrisville in the winter.
Yeah, she's coming. And they run and done very well on that. Then,
So did the
but
Gosses
they
actually-
had to move from here out here, and they knew that Stowe was going to grow, and they had that place there in Stowe.
Yeah.
So they decided they would sell because they know Stowe was going to come big,
Mm-hmm.
and so they increased down there, and
Yeah.
they had all they could do. to
But they
take it.
sold a lot of land here first, and then they sold the.
Yeah, they didn't. They had quite a little. The thing that I always kicked myself I didn't get, I mowed. They owned a little piece on the shore,
Sure.
in Sullivan's spot.
Right.
It's a little pipe piece,
Mm-hmm.
and I could have. I used to mow that for them. They made up their minds pretty quick. I could have got that for. In fact, Mr. Carter wanted me very much. He was back and he wanted me to buy the place where Joe Indian had and where Mitchell, where Huzzy is now.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were quite loud in there, this Mitchell. They'd come in, the fishermen in the morning, 4 o'clock, and they'd have,
Party.
and he and his wife only used to fight terrible. I'd be mowing down there, and I'd seen her come right out around there with a pitchfork chasing him all around. And Mr. Carter come on, and I knew about what they wanted. He said, John, he says, I'd be more than glad, he says, you to buy that place. He says, you make some arrangements to handle it. Anyway, but I said, no, it's not. And then they didn't want to sell it, but they did pay quite a that neither here nor there. That's the way it was. And
So when the Gosses were there, did they have people staying there too?
mm-hmm, so Mrs. Breyer did. She had the teachers there for Mr. Bowles stayed there. Mr. Wells stayed there.
Mr. Bones?
Bowles.
Bowles.
He was our great teacher here.
Mr. Bowles, Mr.
And Mr. Wells. They stayed there when Mrs. Blair was there. And I know them teachers stayed there, and they got so cold that it was cold.
And the Gosses.
You see, Mr. Blair, he drove the stage.
Mm.
He used to carry the mail from there down to the band and meet the trains and come back. And he kept his horses, and he used to sleigh that gone around there.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
The sleigh that's in the town hall now. Mr. Blair.
Yeah.
Where did he get the sleigh from? Will Ingalls?
I would assume, because Sam Ladd, he always done it in the summertime, but they used to go down and get the Because when we used to play basketball over the Danville, we always come over on that morning train. I remember one morning it was cold and thunder. We'd all get on that. And going up the Bend Hill with all of us, we got off and walked because we thought the horses had a little bit more than they could pull. And
okay, so he carried the mail on the stage, and Mrs. Blair had teachers boarding there. Mrs. Goss, who did she have staying there? She had the summer people eating there, but
she had the summer people eating there in the summertime. And as I say, in the winter, I don't know if she had too many. I couldn't say, but her husband had this work.
yeah.
He done fixing
How
up.
about the summertime? Did she have anybody staying there?
Yes, she did.
Summer people in.
Oh yes, they'd have friends coming up and stay. I couldn't give the name, but I can tell you this. I'm looking up on the how am I bringing it in? Anyway, this is one of the outstanding people that stayed there. They're related to the parish some way. And he used to come up and spend 2 weeks with Bliss Parish folks. And
Booth Tarkenton? No.
the name I know. This is an old book of my mother's. Booker T. Washington. He was a great speaker. He spoke on Red Path Chautauqua. He's a noted. Well, that's his book, anyway.
Right.
Up from slavery.
Did he stay here?
around.
He didn't stay here.
No, wait, I'm wrong. What did I do with that? Oh, this is Booker T. Washington.
That's a different thing, yeah.
That's different. I got it here somewhere. Stafford, right here.
Oh, okay.
See, John, this is a book Uncle George gave me. That's my grandfather.
Who, Babcock?
No, Uncle George,
Oh,
from
Big
George.
Brook, okay.
This is his son,
John Big
my
Brook, right.
mother's brother.
Mm-hmm.
He gave that to him probably for Christmas.
That's Charles's brother.
Species Stafford.
No, okay.
Wendell P. Stafford, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
No.
Wendell,
Wendell P. Stafford. He's got some.
P.
I've seen his picture in there, pretty
yeah,
sure.
there it is.
Right there.
Okay.
Well, he was quite a noted. He was quite a noted. I remember Aunt Maggie Boy. She felt pretty big when he came. She'd always felt pretty big, and he came there to stay. And he was. That's how I'm getting it. He was on Red Path Chautauqua. Stockdale was on Red Path Chautauqua. That was
Red Path Chautauqua.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't need to go in.
I know, but
bit.
this is the a speech circuit or something, or
Yeah, you see, years back, this was an organization that went in the summertime. And they would come to Hardwick and stay a week. They had an enormous big tent. And they would sell seats, and of course the farmers up around here, we went afternoons and we had to hurry and get back and go in the evening. And but he was one of the main ones that stayed here because he was a great friend of Bliss Parry's.
Hello?
See, Bliss Parry was
Yes?
my father thought the world of
Yes.
him.
and he was like 2 houses down from the Goss place.
No, he's 2 houses up.
I mean up, okay.
Yeah, just that shingle tank in there by
Yeah.
where you try to look funny.
Right.
And, and the Urbans are the big camp.
The Urbans,
Ports
right?
there.
Yeah. They came
And the
in.
Landons are down in there, the Stones are down in there. And there's some others, but I don't know, it might be the Beans, Mrs. White, father, mother. But they had to, the social life, you see, was made up amongst themselves.
Right.
So they go in and have the
Little
supper, and
groups.
then they come out and sit on that nice porch. And it was pretty much somewhat like that. And they'd play cards, and and so forth, and have a good time. I know they didn't have much light, but she had Chinese, what do you call them, Japanese,
Lanterns?
these round paper.
Yeah, those lanterns
Yeah,
or
all
lanterns.
these picked up around. Just remember, as a little boy, had them fixed
Chinese lanterns.
fixed up the place as much as they could.
They
you
had
know.
the porch on there too then?
Oh yeah, but not as big as it was
Yeah.
now, of course. But, oh yes, they had a nice porch there. Of course, then you could sit right there and look at the lake. You could look right down on that whole body of lake.
Mm.
And, well, of course, now when the doctor bought that field, he went and put his place right in front of it. I think he,
Do you think they have copies of this at the library?
no, I don't think he has any of it, but he left that, I do know
Signed it
that.
to your uncle.
Hmm?
He left this for your uncle?
No, I would assume, and as I say, Aunt Maggie felt, well, let's say, she felt puffed up because he came, because he was an older man, but he came out to stay, visit with the parish, but he had rooms there.
Right.
And then he could go and then clip in this, I don't know what they are.
More about Wendell Phillips.
Yeah. It must have been the last of it. I don't remember him, but he was there, and I remember that. Now, there was another big connection. The one that discovered the North Pole.
That's a Perry too.
Yeah, Perry too.
Colonel Perry.
Yeah, they're related. They were more or less related to the Bush.
To the Perrys here. Huh.
And I can't remember. I would want to say, but
Admiral Perry.
There you are. I know what it is, but
I don't remember his first
Can't
name.
think.
Admiral something Perry.
well, they're
Did
related.
they ever came here? You wouldn't
I
say.
wouldn't want to say because I don't want to make myself feel, you know.
We
you
could
have to
just
watch
make it up.
Well,
This
I
becomes-
telling somebody that
once it
was
gets
go
on this
ahead
tape,
and say
it's-
what you think because there's nobody here to dispute you. The only one now is Donald.
You could just make up the history and
No, I don't. I want to have it. I want to have
want
it
it
right.
right.
Yeah. Because I say they've had 2 or 3 different committees and they always
They always find it.
always flourish out.
Oh, you said something about Blair's running the stage now on that sleigh. I heard somewhere that Mr. Doofer did that too. Is that, do you remember that
He
at all?
possibly might have. I do know that Cleo Collier's father ran the stage from the Bend up to East Christbury, but I think Mr. Bob Blair
Donaldson.
died here.
Yeah.
He died here. But Mr. Collier ran that, and I would have said that he took it from the post office green office here to East Christbury. But I remember going down to the village one time and Mrs. Doofer and Mrs. Aunt Chloe, that was a woman that kept house for Mr. Porter, who lived in that brick house there. Any little thing happened, boy, they women would get together. And he was a fellow that drank pretty heavy. And I remember he'd come up around there one time and the women come over, I couldn't understand it. I was quite a big boy then. And they were going to make a complaint. They said he had no business. He run over somebody, no fit to go to East Christbury, you know. And that would be Cleora's father. And he got where he was drinking. Of course, Mr. England was the housekeeper, so he went up and see Mrs. Collier. And he took her and the whole family. And boy, she made a good deal there. And he worked for Robert Willie then. He done his chores.
Who was that, Mr.?
Cleora's father,
Father.
his name was, what do you call him? Jim Conner. Something like that. Anyway, he worked there and stayed there. And they separated then.
What do you remember about the Caspian Lake House? What do you remember about the Caspian Lake House?
That's the one we're talking about, isn't it?
No, you're talking about the Goss House.
Yeah, well, it's
So now-
Caspian Lake.
Caspian Lake House is the one on the green in town.
Yeah,
Where
that's
the
the one
Doofers
last
were.
stone. Oh, Cashman Lake.
Where
Well,
Doofers were.
You've been talking about Lakeview Inn.
Yeah, right.
Now Cashman Lake out.
Yeah.
Well, I remember way back when I was just a kid, the Doofers were running it. Now whether they bought it from somewhere, I don't know who they bought it on. But the Doofers run it, and they ran it the year round. In fact, Louis Castleman, before he got married and built his little place, he used to stay there. And it was run much like Lakeview Inn. They had their people that came every summer and stayed right there.
Probably have people coming in for meals too.
Yes, they would have people coming in for meals. And Mr. Duffer was a nice repairman. They were both German. She was a full-blood German, I think he was. And very nice looking couple. And they had 3 children. They had Frank, and he had, well, he probably was a diabetic. Gangrene set in his leg.
He got an injury from a hose
something.
or something wrapping around his leg.
And they had to amputate it, and then infection set in, and he finally passed away. And then there was another boy, which was Norman, and he the one that took it over and ran it. After his father died, well, he ran it with the folks too. And then there was Raymond, which was a boy our age. He was Donald Brown's age. He graduated my brother's class, and he was a friend of mine.
He was the youngest.
Yeah, he was the youngest one. There was a big difference between him and Norman. And after that, of course, he had business in Boston, and he would go to Boston. And his mother went and lived in a little yellow house, set right beside where Mrs. Robert Willie lives now. It's a little yellow place, and she lived upstairs. I can remember.
And I guess there was a big barn between that and the
There
hotel.
was a big barn between that and the hotel. The hotel was a mammoth big building.
Can't believe that was all in there.
Huh?
Can't believe that was all in there.
No, it was.
All that room.
It was built pretty high. It had a wonderful porch. As you come around the sidewalk, you pretty brushed the side of it, and then the steps came right down into the street. It was a big wide one and long. It was a big building. But they put on that building in between, and before we scraped the road, now that's another big subject. I believe boy could talk for 20 minutes on that. They were a year and a half scraping from Moffitt's to open up to the 4 corners of it. And I could tell you a lot. So everybody like me, hardly could see scraped around this way. And but a lot of people left the cars in the village, because the first time they scraped just up to Greensboro. Then the next year they went to East Craftsbury. So that made, you could get it around by Hardwick, because you get down to the bend, but that was a big main road that had been scraped for many years, quite a bit. But anyway, I kept my car down there, and a lot of people did.
Down the village.
Down to the village, kept my model. I had a model A4. We kept it down there, and then I go to Hardwick. I was going with my wife, and we go around to East Hardwick. They have dances every Saturday night down at the hall, and East Hardwick's torn down now. She was going to school here, so on Friday night, I said, well, I'd take her down, and then after that, I'd take her home. We had scraped road, or torn road scraped back in. It was a first winter, you can imagine, but you could get through most of the time. And and they ran a nice.
Do you remember any a place on the lake that Norman had that he did dances or anything?
Oh yeah, I'll come to that. When we get around, the thing that I remember the most, then everything was Saturday night. We all went through the village, and that's when the stores were open. And back then, we had a band, a Greensboro band. Now I think I have. I tried to get this out last night. I got a. Charlie Goodrich sent the pictures to. Oh boy, I thought I had that letter. He had the names of some of them on the bag.
Yeah, I think I've seen this picture. I think you showed it
well,
to me.
then I wasn't bothered with that. And they used to have a band concert every Saturday night. And the thing was, of course, we were getting old enough, so we wanted to go out in the evening. And so our folks told us that we could go down Saturday night to the band concert.
And where was that held?
Huh?
Where was it held?
Right on the
Porch
veranda.
of the Caspian
Oh,
Lake House.
Yeah, Caspian Lake House. And they had a good band. Robert Willie's wife has the picture of the band members, and I have seen a picture where they're marching down the street. And I can get, I have this letter from Charlie Goodrich, Charlie Goodrich, and he gave the name. I know the names of that all that. And they had I can never remember, they had the old-fashioned, they had popcorn and the big shaking thing, and what folks would give us 10 cents or a nickel. Boy, we thought we were going to New York City. The first night we went out by ourselves. But when it come around to come home, no lights, and it was getting dark. We come through Tallman's Wood. My brother didn't mind, but boy, I was scared.
You walked right through the woods.
Right through the wind, because there had no lights on the streets. I think probably they had one big light or something in the village, I don't remember. But that was the memory there, and the Doofers ran that, and as I say, Norman.
Did they have dances there too then, or not?
I wouldn't say. I know we had our alumni banquets. We had 2 of our alumni banquets there. We used to shift them around, go up to Lakeview Inn and go down to the hotel, the Caspian Lake House.
Okay.
We had the alumni. Yes, they had gatherings there. They had quite a nice little room out back, out by the side there. And then they got to the point where that, of course, Norman just coming up here in the summertime and so forth. They got where that. Well, it commenced to drop off, and I guess the meals weren't too good. And during this time, he married. Now this part I don't know whether I need to put it in, but this is a fact. And she was a rabid Jew. Mm-hmm. And so they knew it was up for sale. And Mrs. Doofer moved to Hardwick. Lived in the little white houses. You go up around the corner. I think it's torn down now to the health center. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She stayed there. Mr. and Mrs. Peak lived there, and they moved out and went down come up to East Hardwick, and she lived there one winter, and she wasn't very well. I know Raymond came on.
I can see it now one more time.
Yeah, well, at this point, when the folks got together, Mr. Barrington, and the one that on the Gazette there, Alcohol, Archie Kerberson, and Matthews, he had the salesmanship for the...
Where the Carolina and Virginia cars are? Across in Hardwick?
No, it was right in back of the Wanderers.
Where?
Where the Wanderers are. Just right down in back of there, and you can go still, some of the buildings are in back when you go to what, on the front around the store there, on the corner. Oh, well, anyway, Matthews had the Ford. And after that, it was Clark, and he sold the Dodge. That's how my father got the Dodge car.
So that same group are the ones that tore it down, or?
No, they're not. But Mr. Colby, he always kind of felt that he was kind of left out because he had money, but he didn't. I don't know why he didn't, because Mr. Barrington used to go, but he didn't like it in the first place because he wasn't into that group that were more or less that bought up the right-of-ways, the water right-of-ways, and that was after they bought this place up where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody really understands it, but we knew it was up for sale. I remember my dad, and of course Robert, Willie, and they thought they was going to put in a store, sell gas, and Archie, of course, then, you know, the 2 stores, and they had about all they could, but they thought, well, to be honest with you, they didn't want, they knew if they got the Jews in there, there'd be more, and they came together. And Mr. Colby, he was, of course, watching out his interest, and he had the means so he could do it. And I don't know, it all happened overnight. The only person who was against it was Mr. Ingalls. He wanted to keep it as it was. But that's one building that it was good. It was torn down.
So Mr. Colby, you think, bought it and tore it down, or?
Well, he was the main interest. Now I don't want it to say that he was the one that put the money into it, but I think it went pretty cheap in the first place. I think it was mortgaged pretty heavily, and naturally, right there in the village, they wanted to watch out for it a little. Things are different today than they were back then, but they didn't
Not
want.
really.
They didn't want to get.
Still
you know,
going.
you would feel the same way. You know, it has changed a lot, but back in my day, you know, they say the Jews, they bought and ran Old Orchard, you know, for years and years, and now. And as far as I'm concerned, we don't have that racism as much as they used to. But of course, we back then we watched out very closely. Yeah, I don't mean it has to go for a Jew nationally. I can tell you one thing right now. Anyway, it was bought and torn down in about 3 months, and it was all done quick but somebody had put some money in. Everybody said it was George Colby. And in fact, when it was torn down, it was called George Colby and his lawn. It's green.
Oh, it's called George Colby's Green?
Green. George Colby's Green, sure. Why not?
Ernie
has it now, but ain't that a beautiful...
Ernie owns that now?
No, we don't own it. It's a park. It's Greensboro.
It's Greensboro.
It's Greensboro. It's owned by the village of Greensboro.
Never heard of George Colby.
Well, yeah, I could go in the armory. I could give you another about the Federation of the Church. I'll just give you the rest of the quote.
I bet that was exciting. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't too much exciting in the way it was. The minister was turned down that we got to keep some of these people I mentioned. They knew eventually we'd have to federate, but they wanted to have one more minister. My dad was on the committee. He always was.
You mean this is the Presbyterian Church?
No, this is the Congo.
Okay.
Down when my father was, he was a deacon of that Congo church for about 48 years. He was all in parish. Then the deacons were put in prison for life, and then cut up capers to get kicked out. And Donald Brown's father, his dad was the deacon just as much for the Presbyterian. George Willie, Ellen Esden, and we had Alden Parish, and that was that's neither here nor there. But anyway, what was that? Red Tide.
Red Tide?
My dad was on the committee. They got together. The Barringtons, the Colbys, and the Simpsons, and the Kaisers. There was about 8 of the group, but that didn't really want to, especially the Colbys. didn't want to federate. So Dad was on the committees. He, Mrs. Alden Perrin, and Mrs. Bertha Kaiser.
These are all congregationals.
So them three were on the committee. And we won't go into it because it takes too long. But what I'm getting at, that is why. It was done, and Donald Brown has the lamp post. It was on the corner.
They were on the committee at the time of Federation?
No, I'm going back to
the hotel?
The hotel.
Uh-huh.
Donald has that lamp post. I'm positive he had. Everybody.
They were all in on it. Barrington, Colby, Kaiser.
No, I don't think they were in on the hotel part so much. I think Colby was the main one. Now, Mr. Barrington might have been in, but I don't think, I know that Kaiser wasn't. I do know that Mr. Ingalls, I know he was up here to see my dad, and he was very much opposed to having it torn down. He was quite a friend of the Dufers. In fact, the last woman that Mr. Ingalls married, he had 4.
4 wives?
Yeah. 3 of them were at the village here all at one time, if not 4. And this is another little thing that's funny. But Mr. Duper, Mr. Ingalls and Mr. Duper were great friends, and John Silver down for them. And this woman coming, boy, was she a dressy woman, my golly. And of course, Will, guess he thought she was kind of cute. She thought Will was pretty cute because he lived up there in that nice place. So Mr. Duper played it for all he was worth. And finally, all at once, boy, they up and got married. Because I remember, how was it? Didn't they get married or not? Anyway. She came around and Mr. Dufer knew it, just what she'd do, but she thought Mr. Ingalls was worth quite a lot, and he was back then. Quite a lot. Anyway, she sued him for a divorce. And they went up to Newport. I remember this because Mrs. Blair down there was one of the jury. And they went up there, and by God, she got $12,000 settlement. We never seen more of her. She just done it and do for kind of sicked her on to see how it would go.
Where did she come from?
She came from down country. I don't know just where. I don't even know how she got here. But I don't even know. I can't remember how she came in.
So Will Ingalls was a friend of Frank Dufer, or of the father, or of Norman?
Father and Norman. Yeah, they were great friends. And everybody thought he just kind of didn't think to go that far. And Mrs. Dufer, as I say, well, anyway, that was torn down and demolished, and I never seen him go down so fast in my life.
Do you remember when?
It must have been. I think Donald Ram could give you an exact date on it. I could take somewhere near, but I wouldn't want somebody in town that would know, because I know he got the hitching post, and he could tell you exact, because that was. Yeah, I was about 29. I was in high school. Just back quite a few years ago. And I would just remember I wouldn't want to give it because I know Donald would know. he ought to know because he was right there in the village. And of course, since it, what is coming in, did you know you can go in most any little town around, and where will you find 4 good-sized farms right in the village? Now that was the Melvin farm. Right over across was the Broom place. That's
the
where
farm too.
Clear, oh yes, that was a big farm.
Where Richardson lives now?
No, where Mrs. Shulin, that was the house.
Oh, okay, sure.
And the big barn, the collie barn, all that around where the grist mill goes clear up around, even where the colliers live. Now, on that side of the road where they, Mrs. Collier, she got that, and she left the English place, she moved down there, and she gave her children lots. Roy had the lot where he had his trailer, and her grandchildren were the Colliers, the town clerk, that's where they lived. That was the sugar place.
Oh, really?
All that land up, just up above where the nursing home is, that and all up around, that was all on the,
All that big
their
farm.
farm. And all the land is to go down by the cemetery, where every young keeps his cattle. Where that building is built all across the road up there. That all went with the Broom place. Then you come right back and you got Donald's home farm. Then you jump over across the street and you've got Will Ingalls' farm. That would do. Will Ingalls, where he used to live.
That was all farm back there too, between him and the lake?
Oh yes, he owned clear up and back, all that land. I mow them, I even mow them now, them fields in back. Clear up through to, he used to have a red barn up where Moffat's live, only on the other side of the road. He had a great big red barn, painted, and in the summer, he turned his cattle up there, where the tennis courts and all over towards Wilson, that was his pasture. And he had a big field down in back of, next to Sig Longwoods now. They own clear way back down in next to what?
So it had to be behind all those houses? Those
Yeah.
houses were built?
Yeah, where Wilson's is,
Yeah.
right next to Wilson, went clear back down towards the Bend Road.
Wow.
He had a big one, and he owned all that field, and where the Moffats is, everything from there down to the lake. And then when they bought on, like the Goulicks and them, they when they bought on, they bought the house first, and the land was up for sale, so they bought, 2 of them bought down to the lake, because that would prevent, they didn't clear every time.
Sure.
Then when he put up the field, the doctor in front of Urban's and Perry, he put that field up for sale, and he went to the people on the other side of the road and told them what he was going to do. But, and he didn't ask them to offer the price for it, but they just thought that they didn't think he would, or else it didn't matter to them anyway, because they'd be up above. So he put up 2 signs, and they got to take them down, take them down just as fast as he put them up. And they didn't know Mr. Ingalls. He was a good man and everything, but he always worked for the underdog. In fact, he helped me out one time. He helped out me in Stone. If you really got caught and somebody had been nasty to you, you'd go to Will Ingalls, and he'd always help you out. And in fact,
So the Gosses didn't own that land across the street? That was all Ingalls?
No, it was all Ingalls. The Gosses, all they owned was
The house?
where Stone has. It's quite a lot in there, but it runs pretty close on the roadside. Urban, that road on the upper side, and then Urban owns the other side. It did. Now I think his son owns one of them. But on the other side, of course, a little space there from there down to where the Dr. Woodruff side, they own, and it goes back quite a little bit, because Bennett's put on a garage out there, back of where the Stones are. So that is how that is.
You don't remember the Perrins ever living there?
Who?
Perrin brothers, or either
Karen brothers?
Lester or Alden ever living at the Lakeview,
No.
running as boarding place, or they probably built. They probably did the building.
All them parents never built anything. They lived where Myers used to live.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Alden parents' way.
Yeah.
And Lester Perrin is where
McLeod?
McLeod did, and he lived there all his life.
Do you think they did the building on the place? Could be.
I don't think they did at Mrs. McLeod. Mrs. McLeod's house is one of the oldest places.
On the Lakeview Inn. Do you think they built any of that?
I doubt very much if they did, but they might. I doubt very much if they did. No, when the Gosses bought it, that was just a frame, well, a good ordinary framed house. They had a big porch. Remember that?
Do you remember who worked there for Mrs. Goss, or she did it all herself?
Oh no, she had
Did help?
workers. Let's see, who was her great one that was the cook? She lived in Hardwick. No, they were more or less native girls. I believe that Pearl, Mrs. Curtis was one of her main workers. She was a sister to Everett Young's mother, Jordan. They lived over here where, in that little place where just before we drop down to go to town line Hardwick. And she lives where Willie Massey lived.
Mm-hmm.
That was Curtis. She, and when she was a young girl, I know that she worked. I've heard that name. But who to cook? I should know what's gone from her now. There was a woman, a good cook. She came from Hardwick and come right up and stayed. And my Aunt Maggie didn't do too much cooking. She had a bad neck. Some of that her neck all innocent taken and always turn around and slow like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was some nerve. It could have been fixed like today, but it wasn't back then. And as she grew older, she was real pitiful for the last few years of her living. And Mr. Goss, her husband, he put a lot of money. This was back when the village water company was being built. And they were trying to get donations, and he put pretty much everything he had into that. In fact, it made him, and that wasn't much. Well, it was around $700. And I know they was, put in, thought they'd get big dividends or something like that. And they finally got it. But I can remember Mr. Willie. She lived up there, as I say, in the parsonage until she was getting old enough, so she had to go into a small one, but she was there for a long time. I know when we go to church, we go and have dinner often with her when she lived in the parsonage.
Mrs. Goss.
Goss, the same Goss, after John Goss.
She lived in the parsonage.
She lived in the parsonage, and then she moved from there and went into the little end where Helen Lyles is, row of tenements where her daughter lives. She lived there for years and years. When we went to school, we used to stop in every other night and fill up a wood box and get her fixed up so that she could stay there.
This is when her neck was real bad.
Yeah, neck was bad. And then finally she got so bad she went back up on the cook place and spent the last of her 2 or 3 years. Oh yeah. All of them that were around there, they go back up the cook place, and that's why they pass away. Yeah, she's buried down there in the cemetery.
Oh.
That pretty much makes it. Then, of course, From then on, they were eating places. The last of they being sold down here at the people from Stowe, they sold it to a man and his wife with 3 girls, and he was an army man.
Holidays?
Hmm?
Holidays?
I can't remember the name, but they had 3 girls, and they went off. He was traveling, and she put the money in here. I don't know just why, but they had 2 or 3 girls, and they left them. And boy, did they cut up cake of it. They came here with a bus and stayed in the bus, and we were haying down there. And I know young boys, David and Manny gave her all his boy and mine there. Just good live wire. And they stayed here, and I remember one time they drove up, and boy, when they drove in, there was 2 or 3 strange cars around there, and got why it was pretty rough places. They've been told to have the state police check it. They happened to come up one afternoon. We was barely working right there, and he went to drive in on that circle. And boy, I'm telling you, he couldn't get in there. And you could hear quite a lot of trouble going on. Pretty quick, in comes this police cruiser, and they picked up pretty much everything in 2 or 3 days. The girls all was getting towards fall, and they all went to Florida. And they had a big van come up, and they backed in there, and they took all the furnishings, practically everything. That long line out through there, nothing elaborate, but there was set after set. Marble, wash stands with the marble, and the stand, set in front of that was marble, and there's probably 8 or 9 sets like that down through there on that straightaway. Nothing put up fancy, and they cleaned up everything out of that. And then, of course, it stayed there for, I don't know how many years, but a good many years. And all at once, Mr. and Mrs. Stone, they came up. I don't know anything about it. I know they didn't have to pay.
Do you remember the McDonald's? They were there too for a while.
I heard the name, It changed hands an awful lot, time failed.
Yeah, yes.
There again, as far as the news, way back, Mr. Tarrell used to have, he came up with 2. He brought up 2 musicians, violinists from New York, and they came up and they would practice. And they came at the hotel first, but practicing in the morning, it didn't kind of set well, with the people who were staying at the hotel.
The hotel is the Caspian Lake House in the village?
Yeah. So they had to move. Well, one of them went up to Sam Ladd's.
And he lived at the Ingalls place?
Yeah, he lived where?
Next to it.
Next
Harbison.
to it. Yeah. And there's one of them that they stayed at the Ingalls place. And I used to take the cream down to the creamery with my horse, and I liked music very much. And they'd be practicing that time, and I'd let my horse walk up through. They'd be practicing. The next year, they came with 3, and the next year they came with 5 or 6. And they were all staying then at the Lakeview Inn.
With Bert Stone?
Well, Bert Stone lived. The Blairs were running it
Okay,
there.
with the Blairs.
So there again, they commenced to think, well, they wondered if something might happen there, the same that they were having the same trouble down at the hotel. So this time I know my dad, because that daughter I used to chum around with quite a bit, Natalie, and she loved horses. And I had my own horse then. She used to come up here and we had a pony. My brother had a horse too, and we used to go horseback riding together. So they went down to see Mrs. Blair, because they knew that she was going to sell, because he had passed away. It was pretty hard for her. And she says, I know. She says, don't worry at all about it. She says, I've already sold it to the Bennetts. And she says, I'm going into the home over there at St. John. I don't know how it works. I haven't bought one of them beautiful homes. It's right in where the post office is now.
St. John's, right?
And so that put a kibosh on that. But what I'm coming at, well, they wanted to go up and play back golf, actually. Of course, the golf course, back in, camp was what looked on too much with all the townspeople was pretty. And when it come to golf course, boy, that was something that they didn't know anything about, and they didn't care anything about. But they had a nice golf course. They have nothing like what there is now. It was nice course. So they went and played golf. So they went up the golf course. Of course, that's more or less a kind of a private thing, right? Especially when I was back then. And they came in, and Mr. Bagnall in Randolph, he was the president then, and he came out and he said, well, he says, this time of year, he says, it's pretty well crowded this morning. He says, you have to wait. He says, maybe you better wait and come back in a day or two, and we'll see. During that time, I came down here and see my father. They said, wondered, Patty, if you would block the people coming up that want to play down at Lakeville Inn. Dad said, what do you mean? Well, he says, they come up and want to play. And he says, we don't want them to play up there. And Dad says, he found out more or less what it was. He says, well, certainly not. He says, I rent you the land. He says, I know about you're a part of it. He says, if anybody tell them, get out. He says, you tell them. He says, I don't do it. He says, as far as me, don't make much difference to me. Because he don't make money, they come up and they told him they were sorry, but they had a meeting and they were bad.
These are the musicians?
Yeah.
They were staying at the
They were
Lakeview.
Jews.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Jews.
Yeah. One more time.
Oh, yeah. I don't like to bring these things up, but when the broad,
It's starting to sound like it's a...
when broad, I did one night up here. Oh, I just mentioned it the way, and, you know, he thinks he knows everything. And we're all right. We don't agree on something. But when he makes the album, well, I was back. I said, well, I told him he's trying to make out I told him that one. I said, you know, just what I knew. I said, you can take a look on your record. I said, Bagnall was the one to come down and see my dad. And I said, he was the president of the country club at that time. And I imagine he's going down and told him to get off. So they packed up their things and they left, and they never been back since. But what I'm getting at, you see them 4 farms. Now how do you find that? In a little village, just aside of Greensboro. So we have to watch. Well, now when Milton had that place, Kenneth Brown over here, he was great friendly with Milton. And they also had this Smith Cottage, which was built down on the lake, down there. And Milton sold
The cottage too.
half. At first he kept half. He sold half to Kenneth. And Kenneth knew he was a shyster too. If he gets all the money, nobody knows. But of course he had bad luck and accidents and things. He was drawing heavily on his wife's death. Anyway, he bought half, then finally Milton sold the other half. So he owns that camp. And he also had a kind of a inkling with Milton that he would buy that there and run that. Well, of course, everybody in the village knew that. He's my neighbor, a good neighbor and everything, but Kenneth is Kenneth. If he thought he wanted to put in a big dance hall or put in something like that,
He'd do it.
he would do it.
He ran out those dances at his barn for a long time.
Well, he did. He had good dances, and he ran them clean over there. And he had dances at the town hall in Greensboro for 3-4 years in our hall up there. The dances were clean. While the trouble came in was after the dances closed, 2 or 3 smart alecks and got bearded up a little, and about 3 o'clock in the morning to 2, they'd go up and down the streets in the village blowing the horn. Of course, you got to stop that. Well, who do you go to? It's created by having the dancing. So